Guys, I'll go back to the picture method that I had with my vlogs moving forward when we talk about Walking Dead topics, but man, oh man, I'm just gonna say this is a comic book spoiler. If you don't want to know what happens in the Walking Dead comic books, or you don't want to know any of that stuff that's kind of going forward for the Walking Dead comic books, uh, please be advised. Yeah, so as you can probably tell by the title of the video, this is an interesting perspective that we're about to do with The Walking Dead because the comic book, I don't know if... Alright, again, this is a major comic book spoiler. Issue 191 just came out today, and something monumental happened at the end of it. That was accidental. That was freaking accidental, man. Rick Grimes gets shot, but it looks like he gets shot in a pretty vital area. He gets shot in the heart. It looks like, I mean, he's able to talk a little bit afterward and say, "What have you done?" But is that kid... See, you have to read the comic book issue to know, but for anyone who read issue 191, basically, Rick's at the Commonwealth, gives a speech, thinks everything's fine, and then the son of the leader that they just kind of dethroned comes seeking vengeance. He's really angry, and I don't think he meant to shoot him. He looks like he's like, oh shit, and he kind of accidentally hits the trigger and shoots Rick while he's in bed. And the angle of the shot, it looks like it hits his heart, but he's able to talk a little bit after. It doesn't show him dropping to the floor and dying. I guess we have to freaking wait a month until the first week of June to find out if that's true. But man, like, I thought that this would be like an issue 200 thing if this was even going to happen, but maybe it's something that leads up to issue 200. But is this really how Kirkman is going to kill off Rick Grimes? Because in the comic book, because ever since Rick Grimes left on the helicopter, back when we were hyping up this season, I was looking for a photo for comparison purposes, and this one seemed to suit best. Ever since Rick left on the helicopter, I mean, people have been trying to find the show and the comics going in completely different directions because Carl and Rick are still at the head of the pack. Maggie's still at the head of the pack in the comic books, but in the show, it's Daryl, it's Michonne, it's King Ezekiel. Now that he outlived his comic book death on the Pikes, he's still alive, moved to the hilltop. So this is just interesting because I was expecting Rick in the comics to last all the way to the end of whenever the comics ends. And does it seem like that's not going to happen? Because what leadership... You don't have a Daryl Dixon character in the Walking Dead comic books. He doesn't exist. His character doesn't exist in the comic books. And the character that was kind of like Daryl, Dwight, who's in the show and the comics. In the show, he gets exiled, as we know, by Daryl, and now he's crossing over to Fear the Walking Dead in just a month's time. And then in the comics, just a few issues back, this is another spoiler, but Rick actually kills Dwight in an attempt to save Pamela Milton, who's the leader of the Commonwealth. And it's funny because the way Dwight dies is very similar to how he killed Abraham in the comics, Denise in the show, where they got the crossbow bolt through the eye. They're talking mid-sentence and then they just get cut off and it's unexpected. The same thing happens to Dwight in a way, so it's kind of like a poetic death, even though it was for a different scenario, different set of circumstances. But I'm just really trying to... Because I'm wondering, and this is a theory that I've kind of developed since reading this. I read this today, and since reading it, I have kind of come to the conclusion that Kirkman probably told Scott Gimple / Angela Kang about what he was planning to do with Rick in the comics. And they probably said, well, we don't think Andrew Lincoln maybe A is even going to make it, because that would be what, season 12, 13, that you'd have the Commonwealth stuff. So we don't know if, or even season 11 probably. I don't think it would be that late, but probably like late season, even maybe the second half of season 10. Depends how long the Whisper arc goes. I've done predictions about season 10 stuff. That's going to be more of the upcoming stuff for you guys. But in terms of Rick, I'm just wondering if Robert Kirkman told Angela Kang and Scott Gimple. Scott Gimple, who's the creative head, Angela Kang, who was just recently, last year into this year, promoted as the season 9 and going onward showrunner of The Walking Dead. I'm wondering if a decision was made of some kind where they said, hey, like, I know Rick is going to die in this manner in the comics. I don't think Andrew Lincoln is going to last till that season. Or I don't know if the death would work in the show. Do you want to do some type of different decision making? Or here's an even crazier theory. What if whatever A and B helicopter group that Rick gets ferried off to, what if a similar comic death is set up for him depending how the movie trilogy goes? Because we really don't expect, I mean, when all is said and done, we don't expect Rick Grimes to live through I mean, when the series is done, when the movies are done, when the Walking Dead series is done, when there's no possible way we have open interpretation into what happens beyond for Rick, I would say that, is he most likely going to be a goner? Like, it's not like he's going to grow to be an old man who's just going to preside over Alexandria or some other civilization. Most likely, I mean, he'll go out defending someone's, it's going to be a death either way, I feel like. But will it be sooner than expected, or is it going to be, because again, there's still more of Rick's story to tell in the movies. But in the comics now, I'm really interested to see, because, I mean, in this issue, I mean, it was funny because it paralleled, and this is in the show too, when Rick says, "We are the Walking Dead." He says that in the show in season 5 when they've been on the road for so long. He says the name of the series / the comics straight out. And it really defines that the Walking Dead are humans who are they're almost copying, mimicking Walker qualities, because this world has took such a mental toll on them that they just get into this, what's the point kind of routine, and so they are the Walking Dead. And in this recent comic book issue, Rick Grimes actually states, "We are not the Walking Dead," and it's it's pretty interesting seeing those words side by side comparison, because it's the same exact artist drawing. We are the Walking Dead, we are not the Walking Dead, with the close up on Rick. It's the same exact thing in both cases. And this, in the first one, was a speech he gave to his smaller group before they joined Alexandria, and this new speech is on the steps of the Commonwealth trying to avoid a conflict, and it actually diffuses the conflict. And there's big leadership moments for Rick, and it really feels like he had a solid victory in this episode. Some people want him to be the new leader of the Commonwealth, but he doesn't want to do that. And before any decision can be made, that happens. That little shit kid shoots him, and I mean, I don't know why he didn't have armed guards or anything. I mean, you would have thought somebody would have probably been angry with the decision to kick Milton out of power. So, like, Mercer or one of the other Commonwealth soldiers wouldn't have protected Rick. Like, I don't know. Like, they had guards. Maybe that was it. Mercer did say that they were going to have extra guards and soldiers outside of Pamela Milton's room because he was allowing her just to stay in her room and not in a prison cell. So they were actually being merciful in that sense. But then again, I mean, this is all comic book issue 191 stuff. I'm talking about some things you guys might not be privy to. Go read it. It came out today. It's available. It'll give context, obviously, to everything that I'm saying now. I just really, I don't know how I feel about this. Because for me, it feels like Rick Grimes is dying in the comics. And it's not really a spoiler for the show, because Rick has gone, and that's why I'm making this vlog, Rick has gone in a different direction in the show, and now it seems like his arc is ending in the comic book. So like, what are we seeing now? What are we seeing from the I suppose the comics? I think I don't know who's gonna take up the mantle of that. I mean, you have Carl, you have Maggie. I guess you do have people. And then again, I was skeptical the whole summer. I think pretty much from the end of May 2018 up until that episode aired where we knew that he'd go off on the helicopter. I was skeptical. I had no hype about season 9. I remember when I reacted to the trailer, I was like, guys, I have no hype. I know Rick is going to be gone, and they keep saying he's going to die, and all the advertising says he's going to die, and Andrew Lincoln said at San Diego Comic-Con that he's going to die, and what's the point of The Walking Dead without Rick? And again, lo and behold, I was very surprised. That's a video I still have to upload, by the way. I have it completed, How Angela Kang Saved The Walking Dead. And I talk about some of those things, about how season 9 blew me away because I was thinking it was probably going to be the worst season of The Walking Dead and pretty much spell doom for the series to ultimately just end and fizzle out if it really couldn't recover. And it did. It ended up being probably one of the best seasons we've had in years from the show. Again, season 7 and 8 were very stagnant with the Savior arc. I think people loved the newness, Rick being gone, the whispers. There was just a lot added to this new season. And the future looks bright, and I just like Angela Kang's directing style. But what do you guys think about Rick Grimes? Like, would you have liked him to have his comic book death? I'm going to say death. It's not confirmed. They don't show him dying. It's not confirmed that he dies. It leaves off on a freaking cliffhanger because, of course, Kirkman loves his damn cliffhangers. He does this all the time. I mean, again, I guess it's a way for people to keep reading. I mean, it's different than a show. You need different promotion techniques to get people to flip the next page and buy it. And that's true of novels and books. When you flip to the end of a chapter, some scene happens, characters at gunpoint, there's a big battle about to brew. The cliffhangers work masterfully in literature because you want your reader to turn the page. And they're in all forms of entertainment, but I feel like a TV show can get away with, and more a movie, can get away with ending it. Because I'd say the cliffhangers for books are, in comic books, I guess I'll include, are more prominent. Then you have TV shows that do them sometimes to get people to go episode to episode. And then movies don't do them as much because movies should be a contained thing. Unless it's some sort of series like, I don't know, like, I'm trying to think, like Mission Impossible, Need for Speed. The first Indiana Jones had the cliffhanger where the whole top men comment that Family Guy then makes fun of. So this is a cliffhanger that we're going to have to live with for a little bit. Maybe I'll make, if Rick Grimes dies in issue 192 in a month's time in the June issue, then I will have probably a lot to say. But I'm making this vlog assuming that he died in that issue. And now it's like, well, the show has a lot of, well, the movies, I guess, the live action Walking Dead has a lot to now chew on because Rick's, like, it ended in a sense, and now the comics that's going in a really different direction. It's kind of, the comics is going to have what the show had when Carl died, when Rick left the show. You had these really big drastic changes, and it's like, well, how are things going to change? So lots to think about. I want your opinions moving forward on this. But again, you have to read that comic book issue kind of to be in the know. So let me know what you guys think. Thank you very much for watching. This is the Area Lord, and I will see you guys later for more content. Peace out.